Do you feel guilty or maybe excluded, marginalized? Some of you will answer yes to these questions, while others will say no. However, whether we realize it or not, we are all already sentenced beings. Our punishment will last for approximately 80 years if we manage to live healthily. Simply put, we are serving a prison sentence in life. But wait, I don't even know my crime yet? Who can imprison me for life? For what reason and where? If you're asking this, the answer might be a bit bitter. We were sentenced just for being human. The place where we will serve our time is planet Earth. But who imprisoned us here? After all, we are innocent. You will give the answer at the end of the video. In 1785, the English philosopher Jeremy Bentham, after conducting numerous studies on human psychology, designed an advanced prison model that would exploit our psychological weaknesses, Panopticon. The key feature of this structure is its circular design, with a tower at the center that observes the shared areas of all prisoners' cells. The main reason Bentham designed this structure was the tension of being watched, one of the critical weaknesses of human psychology. According to this concept, in an environment where they feel constantly observed by an entity or authority, people tend to regulate their behavior and become more obedient. Imagine that every move you make is carefully watched and recorded, and you know that one day it could be used as evidence against you. How would your life be? Actually, aren't these concepts familiar to you from somewhere? But hold on, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Modern states and the organizations beyond them have tightly integrated the Panopticon structure into our lives. Go for a walk in a street. You will be recorded directly or indirectly by dozens of cameras. Don't think you're safe just because you're at home or in your village. The phone you hold in your hand is constantly tracking your location. This has become so ordinary that we don't even question it anymore. We've even gotten used to living with it, or we were conditioned to. In the order created by humans, there has always been inspiration taken from something, and it has been mimicked. Whether consciously or subconsciously, it is like an unwritten rule that constantly shows itself. So, what could be the inspiration or subconscious reason that makes us imprison ourselves, even in the world we live in? Think about it, even in our proverbs. Patterns of slavery, obedience, and acceptance are embedded. Phrases like, "Those who speak the truth are banished from 9 villages. Don't create trouble for us. Don't go too deep, you'll lose. And the one who separates from the herd will be eaten by the wolf," are ingrained in you for thousands of years, both culturally and in terms of beliefs, preventing you from moving in a different direction from society. Maybe you haven't been aware of these until now, but as you follow the channel, you will. Because in the future, we will delve into much deeper topics. Okay, so who is the one imposing this on us? Why does humanity always seem stuck in the same vicious cycle? Why do we keep repeating the same mistakes as if we are programmed, continually destroying ourselves? These are tough questions, but perhaps the answer is this. It's not us who are destroying ourselves in a cyclical manner, it's others. The prison world theory is actually a very intriguing topic where science, philosophy, and belief intertwine. Let's go on a time journey and look at this event from its origins and how it is interpreted in today's context. When we examine the ancient Mesopotamian civilizations, we come across epics like Enuma Elish, Atrahasis, and tablets that tell us about the mythological beliefs of the Sumerians. Upon studying these, we uncover some interesting details about the reason for human creation. Generally, according to ancient Mesopotamian civilizations and beliefs, before humans were created, a group of gods came to the world, and within this group of gods, there is a hierarchical order. For example, the highest level gods are referred to as the Anunnaki and are described as the celestial royal lineage. However, before humans, there is also mention of a group of gods or lesser deities that serve them. In some sources, these beings are described as the Igigi. Although the Igigi are servants of the Anunnaki, they do not want to perform these menial tasks. This is where myths and epics come into play and converge at a common point: the creation of humans as a lower form of life to perform the gods' menial tasks. According to the epics, they shaped and created humans from clay and their own breath. But the gods we're talking about here are not the ones who created the universe. They have needs like eating and drinking. They have desires such as reproduction, and they are beings made of flesh and bones. Don't forget this. When I mention gods on the channel, remember I'm referring to these beings. The symbolism of humans being created from clay and breath later transformed into concepts found in the sacred texts and cultures of monotheistic religions, such as man was created from clay. We breathe life into him. But at this point, another factor that shapes human destiny comes into play: the concept of humans as a lower species created to serve. Based on this concept and its reflections, some researchers, particularly those who advocate for the ancient alien theory, believe that these beings allowed humans to reach only a certain level of development throughout the ages, and whenever humanity approached a technological breakthrough, they somehow reset the cycle. To support their theories, they provide examples from myths around the world, as well as from the sacred texts of modern monotheistic religions. For example, let's start with the Sumerians. According to their beliefs, the god Enlil is the leader of the Anunnaki on Earth. He becomes disturbed by the increase in human population and the rising noise of their voices and sends a flood to destroy them. Here, by doing some cross-research, we understand what the symbolism of the increase in human voices means. Humans began to advance in relatively technological fields such as agriculture and mining, which were taught to them by Enki and considered divine knowledge. And because they started to become godlike, they were destroyed. A similar narrative is also found in the book of the prophet Idris. Humans, who were taught by fallen angels, are destroyed by a flood sent by God because they learned hidden knowledge. In fact, God directly expresses that humans were not created to acquire this knowledge. When we examine the creation myths of ancient South American civilizations like the Aztecs, Incas, and Mayans, we again see the belief that celestial gods created humans, and humanity was created to offer sacrifices to fulfill their commands. In Inca myths, the god Viracocha created humans using clay and stone. Over time, humans began to disrespect Viracocha, stop offering sacrifices to him, and refuse to obey him. As a result, Viracocha sends a flood, destroying that humanity and creating a second humanity in its place. He personally teaches them, under his own control, culture, agriculture, astronomy, and other fundamental sciences. But in return, he demands absolute obedience. The story sounds familiar, right? Let's continue. When we examine Hindu myths, we again see a similar story, but of course much more ornate and dramatic, where humanity is created once more with a structure based on mud, clay, and some other natural materials. But the fundamental reason for creation is similar to the belief of the people in South America, thousands of kilometers away, to do the work of the gods and offer sacrifices to them. However, in addition to this, the current Hindu belief also holds that humans were created for the purpose of both the gods knowing themselves and humans coming to know the gods. At the same time, this delicate concept also exists in Sufism. According to Sufism, humans are created to perfect their soul and reach the state known as insana kamil in order to fully know themselves and the absolute creator. Now, I've provided examples from the Middle East, Asia, and South America to show how similar the creation motifs are among different cultures, even though they are separated by thousands of kilometers and sometimes oceans. In ancient Greek belief, this is how it is. Zeus created humanity to serve him and offer prayers. When Prometheus defied this slavery and gave humanity fire, that is, civilization, both humanity and Prometheus were severely punished. In short, ancient myths clearly tell us this. Yes, humanity was created by the gods' shaping, design, and the characteristics they imparted. But their sole purpose was to perform the gods' arduous tasks and offer sacrifices to please them. This concept of sacrifice involved the Sumerians offering wine, red meat, and virgin girls to those gods, the beings they believed to be made of flesh and bone. Look, this is not a symbolic narrative. In reality, food and drinks were brought to the places where those gods lived. Myths tell us that the gods were right in front of them, living in those places. This is why these beings, whenever humanity was left unchecked, would bring people back under control after a certain period. The reason given for this was that humans had corrupted, no longer served the gods, had learned forbidden knowledge, and had deified themselves. The forbidden knowledge they refer to is technology. Subsequently, these gods taught us civilization in a controlled way, but in a limited manner. Now, two different perceptions emerge. Some theorists and researchers believe that the gods' approach was actually to prevent us from rapidly advancing and destroying ourselves without fully assimilating technology and civilization. On the other hand, another group believes the opposite, that the gods created humanity as slaves, and whenever we advance, researched science and technology, and tried to surpass a certain level, we were either destroyed again or led to ruin while the gods controlled humanity's development from the shadows. Particularly, specific names cannot be given regarding these theories, as these events have been discussed for thousands of years. Countless philosophers, historians, scientists, and conspiracy theorists have put forward their ideas on this theory. For example, Plato, with his Allegory of the Cave, expressed that this prison is actually for the human soul. Philosophy professor Nick Bostrom and philosopher David Chalmers believe that this existence is actually a hologram created by a superior civilization. As I said, there are many different ideas on the topic. As we move a bit closer to the present from the myths, we encounter the Abrahamic religions. When examining the reasons for human creation in the Torah, two main concepts emerge. The first is creation as beings desired by God. According to this, God wanted to personally create humans because he wanted them to rule over the world and be the protectors of the natural order. The second is creation in the image of God. According to this, humans were created in God's image, with the goal of resembling him morally and spiritually. I have seen this approach in both the Bible and the Quran. In Abrahamic religions, it is expected that humans live according to the Creator's commands in the world and submit absolutely to the Creator. In short, the concept that humans are beings who must bow and submit once again appears similarly in modern Abrahamic religions, following the beliefs of ancient civilizations. Now here too, researchers split into two camps, because the dilemma I mentioned earlier repeats itself here. According to some, the Creator in Abrahamic religions is depicted as desiring the well-being of humanity, aiming for controlled and ultimately calm development without forgetting who created them, avoiding arrogance, and warning them through the prophet. On the other hand, some argue that this deity evolved from the Anunnaki beliefs of ancient civilizations, claiming that they were in fact the same beings and that their mindset remained unchanged, with the sole purpose of forcing humanity into obedience. If we fail to comply, they assert that we will be punished in hell. According to this approach, the prophets are the messengers of this deity, calling people to submit, and the tribes that refuse to enter into this submission are destroyed and wiped out by that very deity and its powers. According to this approach, the system that the Abrahamic religions present to us is not divine, but is actually a developed celestial civilization. Now, both sides of this debate strengthen their arguments by presenting the holy books of the religions as proof. However, no matter which option you choose, one truth remains. In both religions and ancient civilization beliefs, whether divine beings or celestial beings, the common point in both cases does not change: humanity's obligation to obey. Now let's dive into the more fringe scientific and sociological claims. One of the main reasons for the emergence of such a theory is the obvious cycles of destruction throughout human history. Indeed, when we look at history, we see that humanity has continuously been reset every time it established a perfectly organized, systematic structure. For example, the Roman Empire, with its well-established infrastructure, upper-level knowledge, and systems of governance, trade, and warfare, suddenly collapses. The great civilization is destroyed and disappears. Afterwards, humanity takes hundreds of years to rebuild those systems. Let's take Egypt as an example. A civilization with countless remarkable features, such as the construction techniques of the pyramids, which we still can't fully explain, detailed knowledge of the human body, and advanced understanding of astronomy, disappears from the stage of history. The legacy they left behind is essentially forgotten. Examples of this can be found all around the world. In fact, if we include pre-flood civilizations and their extraordinary knowledge, this theory becomes even stronger. According to those who propose this theory, whenever humanity reaches a threshold of scientific and spiritual enlightenment, some chain of events takes place that forces us to fall back to our knees. Considering the destruction of the flood, the collapse of great empires, and the chaos erupting around the world while our technology is developing to secure a better future, we can't help but see some truth in the claims made by those proposing this theory. Because humanity repeatedly makes the same mistakes throughout time, our civilization collapses. According to this theory, potential parts of the system established to constantly observe and control us include the moon, which these theorists claim is actually an observation station fixed to Earth. Some argue that the moon is an artificial structure, while others defend the idea that the moon is a natural celestial body that has somehow been turned into an observation post. The fact that the moon is a natural structure is an obvious truth. However, this does not mean that there aren't unnatural things there. It's not just on the moon. With our current technology, there may also be continuous observation through satellites we can't detect or objects whose nature we don't even know. Why would an advanced extraterrestrial civilization want to keep us on Earth? What does that mean? There are some theories about this. According to the prison world theory, humanity may appear as a virus to these civilizations, at least for now, because we are considered an overly aggressive and uncontrolled species. It's not hard to understand this. Considering humanity's spread across the Earth and the damage we've caused to our surroundings, it turns out that rather than a species evolved in harmony with nature, we resemble a virus in terms of behavior. According to this approach, proponents of the theory argue that when humans settle in a place, instead of harmonizing with the region, they immediately consume resources and exhibit aggressive expansion behavior, ultimately disrupting the balance to the point of bringing about their own demise. Our uncontrollable imbalance, combined with the shortness of our lifespan and our search for an aggressive rate of development in relation to resources, turns us into a truly dangerous species. And usually when we develop advanced technology, we only realize its problems later and attempt to mitigate them, like with nuclear technologies. Now, the idea that a civilization might be restraining us for this reason doesn't sound too illogical. Perhaps they are waiting for us to reach a certain level of maturity. The prison Earth theory I described is a slightly milder version. In the more extreme version, the assumption arises that humanity as a species is genetically suppressed. Our understanding has been reduced to a limited and restricted species level, trapped on Earth, and here we stew in our own juices, with periodic interventions resetting us as a flawed species. Looking at it, Earth is actually a highly isolated planet. The distance to the nearest habitable planet we have detected, Proxima Centauri b, is 4.24 light-years away. Even if we send the New Horizons spacecraft, our fastest space vehicle traveling at 16 kilometers per second, it would still take 17,000 years to get there. As you can notice, humanity has yet to develop a space engine technology that would replace internal combustion engines. There are various ion engines and similar technologies, but they still haven't fully replaced traditional engines. Biologically, the problem of our muscles and bones starting to deteriorate immediately in the weightless environment of space, and our near-complete lack of success with artificial gravity technologies. In areas like these, it seems like we've hit a scientific wall. Unfortunately, we can't make much progress. The situation is similar with energy. We've had a system in place for a long time that's based on burning fossil fuels. While we're currently moving forward with alternative sources like solar and wind, the rate of progress is actually slow compared to their counterparts. The current record for the most efficient solar panel is only around 20%. In laboratory conditions, it's at around 32%. We're also still struggling to solve the issue of energy storage. These developments are, in my opinion, huge achievements for humanity and science. However, they're progressing at a much slower pace compared to other technological advancements. This is exactly what is mentioned in the prison Earth theory. While the speed of development of technologies that keep us tied to Earth and busy with unnecessary things is incredible, technologies that would move us forward and even allow us to explore space are advancing much slower in comparison. Could there be a hidden reason we don't know about that is suppressing our development speed? According to the prison Earth theory, it's suggested that those above are making indirect interventions to prevent us from developing these technologies. This is because they currently don't want humanity to escape this prison or at least leave the solar system. Another theory related to this is the zoo theory. According to this, Earth is just a place used by an advanced celestial race as a production farm and experimentation area. This race watches us as a social experiment. They control our development according to their preferences, conduct experiments on us, and some even claim that when the time comes, they feed on us either physically or energetically. In my opinion, it's a seriously dark theory. In modern times, those who advocate for such theories are particularly developing them based on the Fermi paradox, which is a phenomenon known to them. The famous physicist Enrico Fermi mentioned this paradox in a talk he gave in 1950. This phenomenon was later named after him. The Fermi paradox suggests that advanced civilizations should exist in the universe, and that these civilizations should spread rapidly in space. However, it raises the question of why, in the case of so many civilizations, we find so little evidence. Indeed, when we perform a simple statistical calculation and use the Drake equation, the possibility of millions of habitable planets and tens of thousands of civilizations emerges, even just within our galaxy, the Milky Way. However, we have not officially discovered any of these civilizations so far. Supporters of the prison Earth theory argue that, despite the abundance of civilizations, the distance between our solar system and others, the cloud-like structures surrounding the system, and the fact that there is no life anywhere else in the system except Earth, indicate that we have been deliberately placed in this isolated location by someone. I hope they're not right, because if they are, it would mean we're nothing more than a sheep in a galactic slaughterhouse. Personally, I've never been someone who believes in the modern subheadings of the prison world theory. In my opinion, entities feeding off our energy, federations using us as lab animals, and being imprisoned on an isolated planet are simply not true. No matter how intelligent a being might be, they can also be egoistic and foolish. When we study history, we see that the great empires often collapse due to the same reasons, the same ambitions or fanatical beliefs. The desire for expansion, the desire for money, the desire for power, or religious conflicts. For thousands of years, human civilizations have continuously collapsed due to the same foolish obsessions. Then we learn a small lesson and rebuild. In short, we harm ourselves enough. We don't even need aliens. There are crucial moments in humanity's progress, sometimes influenced by channels of inspiration or other indirect interventions. And some of them are very interesting. Could these events be described as celestial interference or divine inspiration? Personally, I am positive about this idea. However, I don't really believe there are people constantly controlling us. Yes, if we read a bit more of what is described, we sometimes see that these forces have been monitoring or controlling us periodically. Now, some of you might say, where have these people been for thousands of years? Maybe, since they have been silent for so long, someone might have been spending time on them. Why not? In the ocean, there's always a bigger fish. Now, those of you wondering why the way gods approached humans in ancient civilizations, the Creator's continuous observation and control over us in religious texts, and the Panopticon prison approach are so similar, this is actually a point I've been wanting to highlight for a long time. Perhaps this parallel is more profound than we think. The approach of the beings we've believed in for thousands of years towards us is strikingly similar to Jeremy Bentham's approach to criminals when designing that prison. There, cameras are watching you. Here, angels are constantly watching and recording everything. If you rebel there, you're thrown into solitary confinement. On the other side, eternal torment and hell await. Yes, in both systems, if you follow certain rules, you have a chance of eventual freedom or reward. In prison, a person who follows the rules might get the chance for release. Here, those who obey may have the chance to enter paradise. As you said, what is above is also below. The similarities are striking. This question is a very complex and philosophical matter. Everyone's approach to this topic can be different. On one hand, some people might believe that such systems are part of a divine purpose or order, while others may see it as a structure that comes from human experiences and cultural evolution. Whatever it is, such thoughts can help people understand their existence and their relationship with the surrounding world. Stephen Hawking's quote reflects his serious concern about the future survival of humanity and the potential threats the planet may face. As he suggests, because Earth's resources and ecological systems are limited, humanity will need to find alternative solutions to survive for a longer period on this planet. Space exploration and finding living possibilities on other planets may help alleviate these concerns in the future.